Hi, I'm Dr. Richard Visser. I spent my whole life in the pursuit of health, well being, and longevity. In this podcast, I will take you on a journey through the wilderness of scientific research and experiential knowledge. Together, we will clear a path towards optimal health, well being, and longevity. Welcome to the Visser Podcast. Today, we'll be discussing exercise differentiation and the types of exercising we need to be doing on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And so a lot of information will come in, but I'll break it down at the end to the minimum we need to do, the basics we need to cover, so that you can kind of start on your journey. And it depends if you're couch ridden, you start with walking, you start very slow. And really you have to train to get ready to train almost, is what I say. So we're going to talk about someone that's, already moderately active or a little bit active, kind of, has gone to the gym, kind of knows some stuff and, can manage to get on a treadmill or a bike, and we'll go from there. And so for the people that are really starting from the couch, just start walking. Walk at a pace where you could still talk, but difficulty, you have a little bit difficulty talking, but you're at the point. Don't go to a pace where you can't talk anymore and you're just breathing and gasping. That's too much. So start there, build that up, and really, do it every other day. Start doing it every day. So really we get to a place where we have a base to really start working out. So when we look at exercise differentiation, and again, my focus here is not for the elite athlete. I've trained those for the Olympics. That's not where we're going. We're going for health, well-being, and longevity. So we're looking at the types of exercises that I will be covering is also going to be in that field. Which ones are more beneficial? Where can we get the most bang for the buck? And really, when we look at that, we have to start at the beginning. We have to look at, okay, what are the different types of exercises that we do, that we're used to, that are out there. And really there's 9 categories, might be a little more, but these are the main categories. So first is skill. So skill is how you do it. This is super important. It's, if you're doing sports, there's a skill involved. If you're mountain biking or you're kiteboarding, windsurfing, no matter what you're doing, cycling, there's a skill involved. And also with weight training and just walking, running, there's a skill involved. So skill level is 1. The second one is speed. Third one, power. Fourth, strength. Now these are different. They're just slightly different. But if you put strength and speed together, you get power. Okay? So the fifth one is hypertrophy. And that's what you see in the gyms a lot of times with the guys trying to get, a little bit more muscular and the girls trying to build a butt, and some firm, beautiful legs. So when you look at that, that's more in the hypertrophy. And the hypertrophy gives us a lot of health benefits, more than power would. Unless you're a power athlete and then you need power, or unless you're really building just power. And hypertrophy training, you get power, but it's not focused on power. But what you'll see is the muscle increasing slightly in size. Now, don't start freaking out on me, okay? Absolutely don't want to hear, I don't want to get too big. You're not going to get too big, okay? And for the women out there, same. You're not going to get too big. No one gets too big, all right? You're fat. Your fat might swell because your muscles are getting bigger, but you're not going to get too big. All right? So cut it out. All right. So the next one is muscle endurance, number 6. Number 7 is anaerobic power volume. Then you have VO2 max. And finally, long duration endurance. This is like, you know, endurance racing, marathon racing. I'm not going to cover that either. All right, because that's a specialty on its own, and that has, maybe in the future we'll talk about it, but right now I really want to look at, okay, what's best for health. Marathon running is not best for your health, okay? It kills, at the end of a marathon, these guys become catabolic. Their body's eating their own muscle structure. So it's, okay, people that love doing this as a sport, amazing. They're amazing athletes. We have, one now that is just blowing all the numbers out of the water. And so it's a beautiful sport. But is it the best thing we can do for well-being? Is it the best thing we can do for longevity? Longevity, maybe. Well-being, no. Health right now, no. It's stressing the body way beyond its limits. Okay, so another concept that we have to understand is that to make progress in any of this, to move forward, we need to progressively overload the body. This is how it works, okay? We need to do more. We need to do more intensity. We need to do more volume. We need to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to talk about that. So doing the same thing over and over again in the gym, like your same routine, it's not going to get you anywhere. 2 years later, someone's going to walk up to you and go, do you even train? Because there's no difference. Okay? So we need to change these parameters continuously. Our body adapts. We need to bring it to discomfort. It gets to comfort, bring it to discomfort. And that looks like this on a graph. Okay? It's up and down, up and down, up and down. And we need to stimulate that. So what are our modifiable variables? Where do we have control? So we know the movement types, exercise types, and what are our modifiable variables? Where can we, whatever one we choose to do at a certain point, how can we modify that? Where do we get to play? Well, first off is choice of exercise and the application of the exercise. So it's, the reps, rep ranges, sets. Okay, so rep ranges is how many times you're doing it. Sets is how many times you are getting to that machine or that exercise and doing the reps. So let's say I'm going to do 10 push-ups. Okay, so 10 will be my reps. And then I'm going to do it 4 times. Okay, that's going to be my sets. I'm doing 4 sets of 10. All right, so that's when we talk about reps and sets, that's it. Just explain. Okay, with strength, we look at really what muscles are involved, and we're trying to, as much as possible, to do compound movements, so big movements, so squats, snatch, bench press, free weights. So these are recruiting a lot of muscles to push weight away from the body or pull weight towards the body. And so we're mostly dealing with the y-axis here in pushing and pulling the weight from the body and using all the muscles. So it's not, specific muscle groups. And we'll get a bit into that a little further. So when we look at the intensity, which is critical in anything we do, the intensity determines, you have to go from, we're talking about weight training and we're talking about resistance training, we have to be able to look at your 1 rep max so that we have a kind of a benchmark where we're coming from. And your 1 rep max, most people are not going to try to do a 1 rep max because, it's dangerous, whatever, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have a coach, if you don't, if you're not training at a high level. So we have these conversion charts. You can find them anywhere on the internet. So what you do is you do your heaviest weight, how many reps you can until you can't anymore. Throw that in that chart and it'll give you your 1 rep max. So from your 1 rep max, we can say, okay, we want to train today at 70% of your 1 rep max. And we want you to do 10 reps at that weight level. So you can gauge where you need to be at, okay? The volume is how many reps and how many sets you do. That's the volume. And with hypertrophy training, volume is king. So we need to put in the volume. With strength training, it's opposite. It's not volume. Now, strength training, you can do the same muscle every day. The rep ranges are between 3 and 5, so really low with long rests. Okay. Benefits to health and longevity and well-being. Well, guess what? It's funny. Longevity, yes. Health, so-so. Well-being, also so-so. So, because we need strength. We know strength is one of the key things to longevity, so we have to incorporate it. When we do hypertrophy training, you do get stronger, but we're not focused on strength, so you don't get as strong as if you were to do strength training specifically, but you get much more benefits, cardiovascular benefits. You get much more benefits by doing hypertrophy training because you get less rest. You're, metabolically, you're much more active. So the other key thing is your rest intervals, like I kind of mentioned. So in hypertrophy training, we're talking, maximum rest, 45 seconds in between, 45 seconds a minute. That's like max what you're doing in between sets. When you're doing, power, you might have rests of 4 minutes to recover completely, and then do 1 rep or 3 reps. So completely different areas, completely different focuses. So your rest interval is critical to what type of exercise you're doing. So we also have to look at progression, single joint to whole body movements. When do we do single joint movements? When do we do whole body movements? And with hypertrophy training, you will do both. With power training, you'll only do whole body movements. And then we'll look at training frequency. With hypertrophy training, we're going to need to rest the muscles because we're doing volume work. So you can't be doing your chest every day. You can't be doing your legs every day with hypertrophy training. Impossible. With power training, you can. Not that you should, but you can. Because the volume is much less and the damage is less, and the recovery is much less with power training. Your body recovers much faster because there's much less stress on the body overall. With hypertrophy training, you need that rest. And we're going to talk about that rest because it needs to be 72 hours. So you can train a muscle. And this is another question I get a lot is, can you train a muscle when it's sore? Yeah, not like sore, I can't walk, then train. No, but sore, like you feel it, you tense the muscle up and you kind of feel like, oh God, I still feel that workout. Yes, you can work it out. There's no problem. But just remember, make sure that the last time you worked it out, if you're doing hypertrophy, and that's what we're mostly going to talk about, make sure that you have, your window of 48 to 72 hours of not doing that muscle before you hit it again. So the overload variables and principles, strength and hypertrophy training. You need to get all joints to the full range of motion. And there's tons of studies. You can look them up. We'll have one in the description below. Where good technique is key. So you definitely need a coach to get you to that level of my technique is good. Have someone else look at your technique. it's really key. It's really key to avoid injuries, to really hit the muscle you're trying to hit, the intention. Because a lot of times you'll do an exercise, like a back exercise, and come out and say, I felt my biceps. Well, you're not doing it well. You're not doing it good. So you need someone to really focus you in on that. And we'll talk about that too, how to improve that, because initially you're going to get a lot of that. So we need to also look at full joint movement through full range of motion. That has shown to activate the muscle much better. So no short movements, no little movements. And you'll see some of the advanced trainers, some of the bodybuilders, some of the big guys in there doing these short motions. They've been training so long that they're actually doing another thing where they're combining it in their exercise. This is not for you. Okay? We're not at that level. We're not trying to do that level. We're not competing in the IFBB. We are doing this for health, well-being, longevity. Okay, so we need to really bring the joints to a full range of motion. As I said before, the strength exercises will really focus on, push, pull, horizontal and vertical motions. And really in the lower body, it's the same push and pull. The intensity challenge to produce more force. We're looking at high load, low reps. So in power training, we're looking at 85 to 95% of one max rep, of your max rep. And the rep ranges are between 5 and 3 working sets. 5 and 3 working sets, and your rep ranges are between 3 and 5. High rest intervals. That's your strength. So strength and power, low rep, high intensity, long rest, and again, you can train a muscle every day. Early adaptation happens in the nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. That's the first 4 weeks. So you'll really, if you start strength training, the adaptation is the nervous system one more than anything. So you'll really see improvements, and you might not see your body change that much. So that's the power training and strength training. And power training and strength training, you'll see people that really don't have huge muscles like bodybuilders, but have amazing strength. And we've been able in the last years and last decades to take that to a next level where people that are at low weight classes, so smaller sized people, are pushing weights that are amazing, that someone double their size should be pushing, and not them. And so we're able to do that with the power and strength group. The difference when we go into hypertrophy training, we're looking at volume. Okay, we're really looking at volume, and with the power training, there's very little cardio benefits. All right, so let's switch over to hypertrophy training, which is what we're going to be doing mostly. Okay, it's intense, but it's less intense than power and strength training. You're looking at training at the 75 percentile of your 1 rep max, in that range and lower. Your reps will be could be anywhere from 6 to 30 reps, anywhere in there. Play with that, so it's the volume that matters, which means how many sets you're doing, how many types of exercising you're doing for that muscle group, etc. And we'll get through that. So it ticks off. The reason I like hypertrophy training, and I like it, it's because one, you're not trying to hit that 1 rep max, which is, it takes much more technique. It's more skill. So it's more refined, and the health benefits are less, because here you're ticking off more health benefits. So with the hypertrophy training, you're training at a safer level. You're able to train much safer, especially for beginners and intermediate trainers and people that train. And at the same time, you're ticking off way more health benefits. So we really like hypertrophy training. And you're getting the strength and you're getting the power and you're getting some speed. But you're not focused just on that. So let's go through it a little bit. You know, the muscle fibers determines the functionality of the muscle, so the contraction, the tendon, the connective tissue, all determine performance. So we really have to look at that whole group. It's not just the muscle contracting, it's also the connective tissue, it's also the tendon, strength, health. There is a relationship between hypertrophy, strength, like we just talked about, and power. Okay, so we're looking at a minimum 10 working sets per muscle group per week. So that 15 to 20 sets. The hypertrophy reps, like I said, was 6 to 30 reps per set. And you have to take it to muscular failure or close to muscular failure. Rest for protein synthesis alone at that level is 48 hours. Some muscle damage is good for you. I mean, you need to have, we thought it was all micro tears, but it's not. It's a small part of it. Mechanical tension and metabolic stress, the burn, what you're feeling, is what's really, making that muscle go into hypertrophy, improving the muscle quality, improving the muscle girth, and also strength. So when we're looking at how to train correctly, we're really looking at the hypertrophy. So what I want you to do with this is think about doing at least 3 sessions a week minimum, and in those sessions, the way you can do full body, I prefer not. I prefer to have it a little more dedicated and a little more focused. So I like to do the splits, and there's tons of splits. But I think to start off, a good split would be a leg and then push pull. What do I mean by that? So you start out with a leg day, and that's all you do on that day is legs. So, everything from, and really don't forget the back of the legs, the hamstrings. So really start with the hamstrings, warm those up. You need a very good warm up. Anytime you start working out, you need to break a sweat. You need to have some kind of warm up routine before, and it could also include a little bit of stretching, not too much. Once you're warm, I like stretching once you're warm, not start with stretching, but start with the warm up. So, okay, so let's do day 1, 2, 3, and you could split this. It could be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever, if you want, and you could do full body. But the one I like is the split. And so you start off with, or you end up with it with legs. All you do is legs, and so again, what I want you to do is the volume. Okay, so we're doing legs. We're doing 10 reps to 15 reps. On the machines. We're making sure we got hamstrings going, quads going. We're doing full body movements, which means you could do squats, hack squats, the presses, the leg presses. I like you for sure to do lunges with weights, and then you can go into more specific stuff. But really, you need to be looking at 4 or 5 exercises that you're doing, 4 sets to 5 sets each. You have a warm-up set in there, and the rep ranges from anywhere from 10 to 15. So that's a really nice leg workout, and you need to feel it. I mean, legs and your butt, and you're also doing gluteus exercises. The legs and your butt are the biggest muscle by far in your whole body. So it's going to exhaust you more than any other group of muscles that you will train. So remember, the leg day is the day that's going to kill you. But it is critical that you do the leg day and don't miss the leg day. The leg day is a very important day. So then we'll go into the push-pull on the next day. So the second day, we're looking at, let's say we're doing chest, and biceps. And the reason I like to combine those two, and a lot of people like to combine those two, because when you do chest, you're really also working shoulders and you're working triceps. And those are going to be tired because you're really going to push the chest. The muscle that is not tired and hardly being used is the bicep. So really hit that bicep that same day. The bicep is still fresh, you can hit it hard. So you do a chest bicep, that's why we call it a push-pull. The bicep is pulling, chest is pushing. So you do a chest bicep day, and it's same rules. You'll do the bicep is the chest is a bigger muscle. So with a bigger muscle, I want you to do a little more volume. So 4 to 5 sets, 3 to 4 sets on the biceps. And you can pick your exercises, but make sure with the chest that you're doing some kind of incline, some kind of flat, some kind of decline, cables, pick your weights, have fun with it and really push it. Get the intensity. Make sure that you're looking and feeling the muscle. Make sure that you're aware. And please don't, and I'm gonna go on a tangent here, but don't bring your phone in. Don't do your phone in the middle of your sets. You need to have a breathing routine while you're resting, and you need to have breathing at the end. And we'll talk about that because it helps with the neuroplasticity. Super important. We're going to talk about that. So when we're doing this, so the third day would be your back. Okay, so your back, shoulders, triceps. Okay, so your backs, of course, pull-ups, pull-downs, etc. Same thing. That's your big muscle. Hit it hard. And hit it with volume, and then go to the shoulders. And triceps is a little bigger, so four sets on the tricep, 3 sets on the shoulders. Make sure you do your rear delts. That's the back of your shoulder. Make sure, a lot of people forget that. So hit it completely, do the shoulders, do your triceps, and your back first, because that's your big muscle. And you're done. So you got your 3 days figured out. These workouts should be around the 50-minute range. The rest periods in between sets, 30 to 45 seconds. 45 seconds. I mean, we're really trying to, get the body going. And then have a coach, have a trainer, have someone to help you to look at your form. Your form is super important. The other thing that's extremely important is the mind-muscle connection, or the brain-muscle connection. How do we get this? We need to focus on being to be able to contract the muscle that we're focusing on. And the way we do that is by looking at it, by seeing it, by looking in the mirror, and you see these guys pumping their muscles and stuff. But you got to do a little bit of that just to make sure that you're connecting to that muscle. It makes a huge difference. The other thing is touching the muscle that you want to trigger. So if we're doing biceps, touch the bicep, or have someone touch it, of course, appropriately. But it connects you to that muscle. You need to be connected to that muscle. You need to be able to contract that muscle without any weight. Okay, initially it's gonna probably not be that easy, but eventually you'll get it. So every muscle you're working out, you need to be able to contract on its own. And the way we do this, the way we help doing this, is by touching it, by looking at it, by focusing on it when we're doing the workout. So no phones, no distractions, none of that stuff. You need to be focused, intensity needs to be high, and you need to be completely there. You need to be in your training. It makes all the difference in the world. Okay. So what do we talk about? We're going to talk about one of the other things that needs to come into play, and that's your cardiovascular health. You're getting some of it with hypertrophy training, but you need more. And so when we're doing all this working out, most of the muscles that we're hitting are going to be type 2 muscles, fast twitching. Some of the exercises you'll be doing you'll incorporate slow twitching muscles or type 1 muscle fibers, and that's when you do your planking, when you do your ab workout. So you need to do your abs. you need to do your calves in there, and that could be on a leg day. Um, but if you look at your calves, you got your gastrocnemius, you got your soleus muscle. Soleus muscle is that one in between. It's smaller, it's kind of erect. They call it the anti-gravity muscle because that muscle functions all the time at low level all the time. It basically has to function for you to stand, for you to walk, for you to move. Okay, so it's always working. And that's a slow twitch muscle. That's the definition of a slow twitch, number one muscle fiber. Okay? So when you go to the gastrocnemius, which is that kind of that bulbous up top, where if you point your toes, it kind of gets bigger. That's your gastrocnemius. That muscle is fast twitch. So that's used for running, sprinting, that kind of stuff. That gets activated. It's not active all the time. It's your number two, type 2 muscle. And so it's for fast twitching. And so when we're working out, when we're doing the hypertrophy training, most of the muscles that we're using are the type 2, but we're also using type 1 in certain exercises. And it's good to do the type 1. And the type 1, you want to do it a little different. And so you want to incorporate a couple of exercises, and your trainer can help you with this, that incorporate the number one. Slow twitch muscles are what keep us erect. They are what keep our posture good. They are what we need to put us in the right position so that we can activate the number 2 muscle to do the right exercise. If our posture isn't good and we can't hold it, we're going to get injured. If our posture isn't good and we're putting a load on, we're going to get injured. So we need to focus. We need to do a little bit of focus on those. And we can do that with planking, holding a plank as long as you can, 2 minutes hold. And, you can build up to that. You do it with, wall squats, just sitting and holding it. And so there's a couple of movements where and these movements we do for a long time. So we're just holding it, static hold, 2 minutes. That's what we're trying to do. And those will strengthen our number 1 fibers in our body, which we need to do. And this is where we're at. So what is your basis? Your basis is get off the couch, start walking. Second base would be, let's get some, hypertrophy training, go to the gym 3 times a week as a minimum. And you're starting to build an amazing base. This is the base, because we've seen that the needle gets pushed with strength and muscle mass. So strength and muscle mass for longevity, for healthy aging, is number 1. VO2 Max is right there, up there with it. Okay, so we can have those two at a good level, at a high level. If we can improve both of those, we've got the biggest gains in our longevity and quality of life. Subscribe, hit the bell notification. Thank you very much. And stay tuned. We've got much more coming.